Aristotle is one of the most famous and influential philosophers in history. With his extensive body of philosophical, logical, rhetorical, political, and scientific writings, he is considered the founder of Western science. Many of his insights are still fundamental in science and philosophy today. In his major ethical work, The Nicomachean Ethics, he explores what constitutes a happy life and how it can be attained. To understand Aristotle's ethics, one must know his conception of the world and of man. Aristotle is born in Stagira in 384 BC. He is a student of Plato, who was a student of Socrates. His father, a rich doctor, enables his son to study at Plato's school of philosophy. At the age of 17, Aristotle comes to Athens and joins Plato's academy. He stays there for about 20 years, first as a student and later as a teacher. Only after Plato's death, he leaves the academy and Athens. Aristotle reveres his teacher Plato, but later also criticizes essential points of his philosophy. In 342 BC, Aristotle takes over the education of the then 13-year-old Alexander for 3 years, who later becomes king of Macedonia and receives the nickname the Great. In 335 BC, Aristotle founds his own school in Athens, the scientific research community Lyceon. His most important works are written during this period. Aristotle is a universal genius. He deals with logic, natural philosophy, metaphysics, ethics, poetics, politics, and rhetoric. Not all of his observations and explanations at that time stand up to today's research. For example, that mice become pregnant when they lick salt, or that there are animals that are created from mud and sand. Aristotle's main ethical work is called Nicomachean Ethics. It is named after Aristotle's son or father. Both are called Nicomachus. In 323 BC, Aristotle is threatened with a trial. The charge is asabeia, that is impiety. He flees to Chalcis so that, quote, the Athenians do not sin a second time against philosophy. With this, he alludes to the execution of Socrates, who was also sentenced to death for asabeia and seduction of the young, and had to drink the cup of poison. In his exile in Chalcis, Aristotle dies a year later. Aristotle assumes an inner purposefulness of every living being. According to his opinion, every living being carries a goal or a purpose, to Greek telos, in itself, and strives to realize this. Everything that lives strives for its inner perfection. The technical term for this is entelechy, having oneself in the goal, or becoming what one is, the property of something to have its goal in itself and to strive for its realization. Aristotle thus has a goal-directed, a teleological view of the world. Teleology is the doctrine of the purposefulness of every action and development. According to Aristotle, the goal of every living being is to perfect its nature. Every living being has a certain essence, a specific function or task after whose perfection it strives. The Greek term for this is ergon. The ergon of a plant lies, for example, in the fact that it wants to perfect itself in germ, flower, and fruit. In the seed, this ergon, the perfection of the plant, is already laid out. But what constitutes the essence, the ergon, of man? What is characteristic of man? What characteristic distinguishes him from all other living beings? Aristotle excludes nutrition and growth because plants and animals also have this goal. Also, sensation or sense perception is not specifically human because animals also have this ability. Only the logos remains, that is reason and language. In the logos, Aristotle sees the true being, the ergon, of man. The true destiny of man in Aristotle's teleological worldview is therefore to realize the logos, that is, to recognize the world, to observe it, and to question it. His ability to reason distinguishes man from all other living beings. But what exactly does Aristotle mean by logos? And to what extent is it characteristic for humans? Do not animals also have their own language? Aristotle distinguishes between logos and phony. Logos, that is language or reason, is only possessed by humans. Phony, the mere voice, is also possessed by animals. Only with the logos it is possible to communicate about abstract concepts. Only with the logos man can really recognize and question the world. He can make concepts of his observations and bring them into a structured, a logical context. This ability is the basis of every science. but the possession of the logos is also quite essential for the human living together. Because only with the help of the logos, people can form abstract concepts like good and bad, right and wrong, and so on, and communicate with it. In this way, people can develop common ideas and establish a state or formulate laws on this basis. We summarize. According to Aristotle, man is, on the one hand, a zoon logon ekon, that is, a being of language and reason, a living being who has the logos, language and reason. And on the other hand, he is a zoon politikon, that is a community being or state-forming being, a living being that leads its life in community, more precisely the polis. In Aristotle's view, man needs the community in order to realize his needs, the goals that reside within him. Essential, that is, basic needs, for example, for food, procreation, etc., he can realize in smaller communities, such as the family or the village. For the satisfaction of higher needs, he needs the state. Aristotle has a teleological view of the world and of man. Every living being carries a goal in itself, after whose realization it strives. The specifically human goal is the logos, the reason. Based on this conception of the world and of man, Aristotle sets out to find the highest goal of all human beings. In order to find it, he takes a close look at different ways of human life. This is what the next video is about.